Democrats pick up a House seat after George Santos's expulsion, further narrowing Republicans' razor-thin majority. We'll bring you the results of the special election in New York's 3rd congressional district. ICE is reportedly planning to release thousands of detained illegal immigrants due to budget issues. That's as the House votes to impeach Homeland Security's Alejandro Mayorkas. We'll bring you an immigration update. National backlash over an elementary school's woke kindergarten program. We hear from a teacher who was put on leave right after publicly questioning the program. A radio tower that vanished in Alabama has forced the radio station off the air for more than a week. NTD's Jason Blair brings us the latest in the investigation. The World Health Organization is stirring controversy with new guidelines on transgender health, addressing concerns over the use of puberty blockers. And giving your loved ones Valentine's Day sweets could cost you more this year, and we'll tell you why. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Jack Bradley. A razor-thin Republican majority in the House just became a little thinner. That's as Democrat Tom Suozzi beat out Republican Mazi Pilip in a special election in New York yesterday. He flipped the seat formerly occupied by ousted Republican George Santos.
Suozzi won in New York's 3rd congressional district on Tuesday. The seat's former occupant was Republican George Santos, who was expelled from Congress last year. This victory means the Democratic Party gains another seat in an already precariously balanced House.
Despite the dirty tricks, despite the vaunted Nassau County Republican machine, we won.
Tom Suozzi previously served in the House of Representatives from 2017 to 2023 for the same district. He's a familiar face to Long Islanders, holding various positions in Nassau County in the last 30 years. His opponent, Republican County lawmaker Mazi Pilip, is lesser known, but she had the Nassau County Republican Party supporting her campaign. Both candidates are staunch supporters of Israel in its war against Hamas. The outcome of this special election will have a big impact on Capitol Hill, where the Republican majority is razor-thin. During his campaign, Suozzi focused on immigration. He declared his support for the bipartisan deal to address the border crisis and criticized Pilip for her opposition. Pilip took a hardline position on immigration. In her campaign, she criticized Suozzi and the Democratic Party, accusing them of failing to control border crossings. She was also endorsed by a labor union for Border Patrol officers.
We are fighters. Yes, we lost, but it doesn't mean we're going to end here.
With a record-setting number of illegal crossings, immigration has become a top issue leading up to the general election.
House Majority Leader Mike Johnson spoke earlier today on last night's special election for former Representative George Santos's seat. Now, he says the victory is not something Democrats should celebrate too much.
Their candidate ran like a Republican. He sounded like a Republican talking about the border and immigration, because everybody knows that's the top issue that is on the concern, the hearts and minds of everybody. That incumbent had been a 3-term member of Congress, and he had 100% name ID and a deep family history in the district. Our candidate was relatively unknown in that comparison and had a very short runway.
The razor-thin Republican majority in Congress was on display during yesterday's vote to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Voting along party lines, it was 214 in favor to 213 opposed. 3 Republicans voted with all of the Democrats against the impeachment.
And the nays are 213. The resolution is adopted.
The 2 articles of impeachment approved by the House accuse Mayorkas of willfully and systematically refusing to enforce immigration laws and making false statements to Congress on border security. Mayorkas, in a recent letter to lawmakers, says they need to solve what he says is a historically divisive issue through legislation. Now, senators will vote to decide on the fate of Mayorkas at the end of the month. More on the illegal immigration crisis now. One of the suspects in the attack on the NYPD officers in Times Square is in jail again. Now, this time for allegedly committing a robbery and fighting with security at New York City's department store. Now, meanwhile, immigrants and customs enforcement is reportedly planning to release thousands of detained immigrants due to budget issues. Here's NTD's Arian Pazdar with more.
In New York City, a suspect allegedly involved in this attack on police officers near Times Square has now been arrested again. The NYPD confirmed to NTD that they arrested 19-year-old Darwin Andres Gomez-Izquierdo on Tuesday. That's in connection to a robbery at a Macy's store and an attack on a security guard who tried to stop him and 3 others. This comes as new numbers show that the month of January saw over 176,000 immigrant encounters at the southern border. That's more than any January ever before, breaking the previous record set in 2023 with under 160,000 encounters. And ICE is reportedly planning to release thousands of detained illegal immigrants and cut detention levels from 38,000 to just 22,000. That's according to the Washington Post, which is citing 4 anonymous ICE and Homeland Security sources. They say that the agency is taking the drastic step because the Senate didn't pass the border funding bill. This allegedly leaves ICE with a $700 million hole in its budget. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
American manufacturers, people who make the goods that drive the economy, are urgently pleading to stop what they're calling a regulatory onslaught. The National Association of Manufacturers told lawmakers today that the Environmental Protection Agency is not listening to its concerns. The association represents around 14,000 large and small manufacturers in all 50 states. Association Representative Brandon Ferris says the average company already pays $13,000 per employee to comply with these current regulations. Now, the EPA's new wave of regulations, he says, will be especially disruptive.
One of the great problems that we're seeing right now with these regulations is that they are so close to zero that they are unachievable. So yes, there does not have to be a trade-off. We can have clean air and we can have a wonderful economy, but we cannot have it with these regulations.
Republican lawmakers suggest the EPA is taking an extreme approach by forcing away fossil fuels and forcing in renewable energy. Ferris says the EPA wants to have widespread deployment of carbon capture and hydrogen in 10 years. He says that's just not feasible, and it will shut down 60% of America's power generation. Ferris says this will raise energy bills and create power outages. Nationwide controversy is brewing over an elementary school's anti-racist curriculum. Glassbrook Elementary School in California's Bay Area abandoned woke kindergarten on Monday. That's after spending north of $200,000 to implement it, only to later see test scores drop. Third grade teacher Tiger Craven-Neeley publicly questioned the program and was then placed on leave last week indefinitely. He joins us now to discuss what's in the controversial program and why there's so much pressure to follow it. Tiger Craven-Neeley, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You were recently put on administrative leave for criticizing your school's woke kindergarten program. Walk us through what happened here.
That's correct. So this is a 3-year program. The figures I saw, I requested the contract through the Freedom of Information Act, was $200,000. But I came in the second year of a 3-year program. There were things that I were not comfortable with. I never came out and said, don't say certain things, like there's an overemphasis, I thought, on concern for white supremacy. There was insulting comments about the police force, insulting comments about the United States of America. There were comments about anti-capitalism, and I never said, hey, we shouldn't do this. I just wanted to ask questions. As soon as I started asking questions, I was told I was not allowed to participate in certain aspects of that. I went to San Francisco Chronicle reporter. I gave an interview. The article came out. A couple days later, there was this kind of a semi-national frenzy, and a lot of news agencies were reporting on it. Right after that, we had a meeting. The meeting was for teachers to vent how they felt about the article. The meeting became very hostile. One teacher got out of her seat. She came up. She put her finger in my face. She said, "You're destructive to our community." After the meeting, I got a email saying to come to a Zoom meeting the next day. I went to the Zoom meeting, and I was told I was being placed on administrative leave.
What issue did you take with the woke kindergarten curriculum?
So there are a lot of aspects of the program that I am really for. So they have aspects of like social emotional learning, self-esteem, giving kids self-agency, giving them a voice in the classroom, restorative justice. And a lot of that was created, it was kind of a hybrid of what Key Gross brought to our school along with some of our leadership. And those aspects that I really liked. It was the having to sit and listen to insults to the United States. There was one comment referring to the United States, the so-called United States. There was a role modeling lesson where Key role modeled talking to children about the dangers of capitalism. There was one comment that was made that people of color compromise their culture because of white supremacy. And again, I just wanted to know some clarification. I wanted to know, what did that have to do with my third grade classroom? And again, when I asked questions, I was told, no, you can't ask these questions. It was at a coaching session. This is not a place to ask questions. I said, these are questions regarding the content that you presented. These aren't things that I'm bringing up. So yeah, I was banned. Again, my concern was also about the funding. This year we were told we had no money for field trips. We were told we have no money for our classroom budget. And so I went to the school board and said, look, we have no money for these things, and yet, but really, when we don't have our fundamentals down, we haven't had any trainings on math in the last 2 years, very little trainings on reading. I just questioned whether or not this was the best expenditure.
What were the general reactions among your colleagues and parents to this?
I don't think a lot of the parents are aware that that was the program we were using. Now, colleagues, you get a different reactions. You've got, at the very top, you have the few teachers that brought in woke kindergarten. They're loyalists. They're a close-knit group with the principal. I know she took a group of people to a conference at the beginning of last year regarding how to be an abolitionist educator. So you have your loyalists, and then you have a lot of teachers who are just permissive, or they fear for their evaluations. I have a lot of teachers who come to me in secret and say, I want to speak out, but I'm afraid of what the repercussions might be. One teacher said, I'm going to be here a lot of years, so I have to be careful what I say.
That was Tiger Craven-Neeley, a third grade teacher at Glassbrook Elementary, who was just put on leave after questioning the school's woke kindergarten program. Now, Michael Baisley, a spokesman for the school district there, Hayward Unified, told me that they terminated their contract with woke kindergarten in part because the program's consultant made controversial comments publicly. The head of the program, Akia Gross, had recently shared social media posts claiming America and Israel have no right to exist. The district spokesman also said that the school will continue to focus on anti-bias and anti-racist teaching, among other topics. Who stole a radio station broadcast tower? An investigation is ongoing into how the 200-foot tall tower vanished from an Alabama radio station. WJLX has been forced off the air for more than a week as a result. NTD's Jason Blair spoke with the general manager, who's in utter shock. Jason, this must be one of the most bizarre situations we've seen here. Take us through what happened.
Yeah, Jack, and what might be one of the strangest crimes you hear about all year, an Alabama radio station's tower was stolen. It kind of vanished without a trace overnight. I spoke with the station manager. He said some landscapers were out near the tower doing some work, and they gave him a call. And he was just, really surprised when they told him that, the tower was gone. I did speak with the general manager, and this is what he said he was talking about when he found out. I can show you a clip from our conversation here.
Obviously, I was shocked that the tower was gone. So I asked him, if he could open up the door and tell me what he saw, and he looked in, and all the equipment was gone.
Now, Jason, this tower, it's 200 feet tall. How did it vanish overnight? What are police saying?
Well, the tower is located near a rather large poultry facility, kind of behind the facility out in the woods a little bit. And there is a lot of activity in that area, trucks kind of driving in and out, and there actually happens to be a large construction project going on at the facility at the moment too. So some of the ideas is that possibly the thieves could have cut up the tower into a bunch of smaller pieces and drove it out, and nobody would have really thought anything of it. It could have looked just like scaffolding. They could have blended in really with all the other construction and other activity going on at the facility. But the station manager did say it's a federal crime. They're a federally licensed station. So if they do catch the people, the police are working on a couple of leads. They do plan on prosecuting the thief or thieves to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, hopefully the station is recovering. How are they doing?
Well, they've been having a tough time. Unfortunately, they have had to temporarily shut down and go off air. They're working to get back on their feet. They are still streaming online and keeping their website and social media pages active. The station manager told me it's going to cost an estimation of $60,000 to $100,000 actually to get the equipment replaced. They did get cleaned out pretty bad. And for people that do want to help them, he said people have been calling in and asking how they can help. They did set up a GoFundMe to help get their feet back on the ground and get running again. He did say it is going to take some time. He's working on kind of a Band-Aid fix right now with some engineers to get them back on the air at least. But as far as getting back in full-fledged operating and on air, it is going to take a little bit of time and some money.
Well, hopefully it's a smooth recovery for that radio station. Jason Blair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Controversy in Europe over allowing children who identify as trans to have ready access to puberty-blocking drugs. When we return, we'll talk with one expert who says the EU may embrace this idea. And giving your loved ones Valentine's Day sweets may cost you more this year. We'll show you the difference between last year and now when we return.
Hi everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. You know, we're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Chief Division Counsel and DOJ have approved a no-knock for each. We want the subject to be on display, doing the walk of shame, full visual impact. Any questions?
Are we becoming a police state? We don't need to have a crime. What we need is a person to look at. And then we go find out what crime you did.
FBI! Our focus is shifting. Our main priority as a bureau is going to be domestic terrorism.
Really paints anybody who's right of center.
If you're a pro-life, pro-family Catholic, they define you as radical.
These are anti-government.
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech.
Violent extremists, and they must be dealt with. We can do anything we want.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking, now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
Welcome back. The World Health Organization is currently working on new guidelines regarding transgender health. However, one of the people working on the effort is sparking controversy, advocating for promoting puberty blockers as an automatic proposition for every child. NTD's France correspondent David Vives talks to a legal expert who says the WHO appears to support this idea.
The World Health Organization announced in December new guidelines addressing specific health challenges that negatively impact the right of trans and gender diverse people access quality healthcare services. Members of the coalition that will develop these guidelines include figures from the World Professional Association of Transgender Health and trans activists. According to French legal expert Marc Gauthier, this shows an obvious bias from WHO in dealing with the question.
The problem is that people of the guideline development group who work in the fields of medicine, psychology, and child development are in fact people who have links of interest with international funding and international organizations that are biased on the question.
Notably, Florence Ashley, born as a man who now identifies as a woman, advocates for puberty blockers as a default option for all youth, as opposed as letting puberty run its course. Ashley argues that puberty blockers allow youth to keep their options open. But a lack of evidence on the consequences of taking these drugs is sparking controversy. In different countries across Europe, like Norway, Finland, Sweden, and the UK, health administrators are revising the clinical recommendations for puberty blockers. Goody says there are many examples of shattered lives due to the decision of taking the drugs.
Prescribe or ask for automatic use of puberty blockers. That's precisely what we must not do. All the countries that have decided to go down this road are doing it head on, because they realize that there are a huge number of suicides and a huge number of people who are having a very hard time coping with the sometimes surgical operations they've undergone.
Goody says there are also legal consequences with influencing a minor to take blockers.
The question of the child's consent to hormone block or surgical procedures is irreversible and fraught with consequences, not only for the parents, but also for the doctors in the event of the child's going through a difficult phase, sometime later, or changing his mind.
According to the WHO, the overall process for the development of the guideline could take up to 2 years. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
American finance company MSCI is removing dozens of companies from its China index, potentially exacerbating outflows from Chinese stocks amid an already substantial market downturn. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's business brief.
All right, thank you very much, Jack. To start off, global stock index compiler MSCI is deleting dozens of Chinese companies from its benchmark China index. And this could further worsen money outflows from Chinese stocks. Of course, this comes on top of an already massive stock market rout in China. The index provider announced this week that it would drop 66 securities from the MSCI China index. Now, the MSCI China index is one of its flagship China indexes, so it's significant here. And this is the highest number of companies being removed in at least 2 years. Now, the removal of Chinese stocks come amid worries about China's troubled economy. China's stock market has been in a protracted slump since recent peaks in 2021. That's with more than $6 trillion in market value having been wiped out from the Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong markets. Investors are concerned about a myriad of challenges facing the world's second largest economy, including, but of course not limited to, a prolonged property downturn, high youth unemployment, deflation, and a rapidly falling birth rates. So quickly, for those who are unfamiliar with what MSCI is, this company is most known for, to put simply, making lists based on different categories of stocks and showing how companies and stocks are doing. So inclusion in the MSCI indexes is seen as a mark of prestige, and the reverse is true when stocks are removed. And moving on. So of course, today is Valentine's Day, but sweet treats today may come with a bitter taste for romantics buying candy without looking at the markup. Some candies appear to be priced much higher than their regular counterparts when comparing the cost of Sour Patch Kids. A former data analyst reported that a regular box costs $1.24. She found that the same size in a heart-shaped box listed on Walmart is for almost $4. And the same candy at a CVS store in New York is just under $7. Walmart said it was looking into the price difference, and CVS said what Valentine's Day candy varies based on cost or quantity. Seasonal items are typically made for a limited time in limited quantities, so watch out for that. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Don. And now you're up to date. Thank you so much for watching NTD Newsroom. Stay tuned for NTD Evening News with Tiffany Meyer tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'm Jack Bradley. Happy Valentine's Day. Show your friends and family some love. I'll see you tomorrow.